All right, we're ready. Okay, so I'm glad you're all here. We're going to talk about fueling your athlete for optimal performance. And I know a lot of you have children at different ages and different athletic commitments. But a lot of this is baseline stuff that can help to optimize their overall health, regardless whether they're in athletics or not. It's a lot of focus on prioritizing hydration and protein and greens and regulating your blood sugar. So with that, we'll get started. And know that, I'm going to talk about a lot of things in a high level way. And I would really encourage you to sort of like, instead of becoming overwhelmed, if this is all new, just kind of break it down and focus on maybe adding one thing at a time. Hydration is usually the easiest thing to add. So we'll start there. Right. So hydration. So I want you guys to start to think about drinking half your weight in ounces on a daily basis. So maybe right now you're only drinking 20 ounces a day. So for example, say you weigh 100 pounds, right? So you'd want to drink about 50 ounces every single day to make sure you're hydrated. So I usually advise for my clients to start their day, just so you're already starting on the right foot, to start your day with 15 to 20 ounces of water right off the bat. First thing in the morning, before you've brushed your teeth, before you've had breakfast. It just sort of flushes your system. You wake up dehydrated after a night of sleeping. So it gets you hydrated, it gets you flushed. And I love to add lemon for vitamin C. So you could add lemon for vitamin C. And then I also really love pink salt. So pink salt is naturally filled with minerals, and minerals are depleted as we sweat and as we go about our days. This particular pink salt has chloride, sodium, magnesium, calcium, potassium, iron, and iodine, which are all super crucial for hydration and for health. Another easy way to stay hydrated is Element. And this is really great. This one's raw. They also make a chocolate. They make all sorts of flavors. But these are kind of pricey. So if Element is kind of like outside your budget or your wheelhouse, stick with pink salt. And think about 15 to 20 ounces before you wake. Add lemon if you can, add pink salt if you can. And then you want to make sure you're consistently drinking water all day long. And then before your game or your practice, think about adding 20 ounces of water and then adding the salt supplement to your water bottle or to your Yeti. I love the 30-ounce Yeti. So we all have one of these in our family, and I drink about 3 or 4 of these a day. And it makes me feel really like when you're dehydrated, you're not gonna be able to perform at your optimal level, which is, I know, part of your goal if you're trying to optimize your athletics. Hydration is your first step. So I would advise you that if this is a new platform, this is a new way of life for you, think about hydrating being your first goal. And I love this, this graphic here on the screen. It kind of keeps you motivated. So if you need something like this on your water bottle, if you want to create, like a lot of times I'll have clients put rubber bands on their water bottle. So maybe like 3 rubber bands. And every time they finish the 30-ounce Yeti, they lose a rubber band. So then they've had 90 ounces by the end of the day. But anyhow, it'll help with your magnesium, your hydration. You just will have higher energy levels if you stay hydrated. And it's going to help flush your system. It helps with digestion. It's super important. We're pretty much, as humans, mostly water. So we need water to maintain homeostasis. Moving on. Okay, the balanced plate formula. This is like the bread and butter that I go through with my clients when we first start working together. And the goal is really for balanced blood sugar and sustained energy. So I want you to sort of get in the habit of anytime you're sitting down for a meal at a restaurant, at home, or wherever, think about your dinner plate and think about 50% of your plate filled with veggies, non-starchy veggies. So these are green leafy veggies like spinach or arugula, or cruciferous vegetables like Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli. So these are your non-starchy vegetables, and it can really be anything. And you can kind of switch it up based on your taste preferences and your palate. And then clean protein. So you want 2 to 6 ounces of clean protein when you're sitting down for a meal. So a lot of times that's like 3 eggs, not just 1 egg. So you want to make sure you're getting adequate protein for muscle development and growth, because that's your goal, right? You want to, you're training hardcore like an elite athlete. You want to fuel your muscles like an elite athlete. So you're going to need protein to do so. So make sure you're getting adequate protein. And then 25% of your weight is a whole grain or starchy vegetable. So that could be fruit, sweet potatoes, rice, corn, pasta. If it can be organic rice or organic pasta, that is a huge bonus, just so you avoid glyphosate, which is sprayed on a lot of non-organic grains. But I want you to first just take this balanced plate and see how you can, first of all, take a look at your current meal, what you're currently eating, and maybe think about small adjustments that you can make to what you're currently eating and how you can make it a little bit more balanced. So half your plate is greens, quarter your plate is protein, quarter your plate is starches, and then you want a couple tablespoons of fat, so like 2 tablespoons of fat. And a lot of time that comes with the cooking oil, like if you're cooking your protein in olive oil, or if you're cooking your veggies in olive oil. If you're not, you can always add some avocado or tahini, almond butter, lots of options there. But so this is the balanced plate formula. So most of your meals should have this cadence. All right. So this is sort of breaking it down, practical ideas of how to create the balanced plate. So here's a lot of ideas for unlimited green veggies. So that's half your plate. And I've listed arugula, artichoke, asparagus. I won't read these all to you, but these are some of our favorites. And they can be raw, they can be cooked, sauteed, roasted, however you like. And then protein, a palm size. So it's about 1/4 of your plate. Lots of great options, and really have variety in your protein. There's lots of great benefits for different types of protein, like salmon is really high in omegas. Beef is probably the most bioavailable protein, huge iron source. So don't always go to like chicken breast. Plus it keeps it more fun and engaging when you're kind of varying your protein source. And you can kind of get creative about ways to serve it and cook it, tacos and stir fry and roast it in the oven or grilled. So anyhow, so that's protein. Healthy fat, you want 2 tablespoons. I touched on that briefly before. So olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, nuts and seeds are a great way to sprinkle on top of salads or have a side of granola with your meal. It's a great way to get in your healthy fat. And then complex carbs. So that would be your starchy vegetables or your fruit or your grains. And those kind of give you your starchy grains give you your quick energy. So if you were able to eat those, if you were eating your starchy carbs without anything else, you might notice that you have like a surge of energy, but then you're going to have a crash. So I want you to start to get in the habit when you're having a carb to pair it with a fat. So think about sweet potato and olive oil, or sweet potato and avocado. So when you pair a fat with a complex carb, you're going to slow down your digestion and absorption, and it's going to keep your blood sugar more stable, as opposed to like if you have berries by themselves. Berries are low glycemic, so that's a bad example. But say a banana. If you have a banana by yourself, you might notice like a surge in blood sugar. But if you add a tablespoon or 2 of almond butter to the banana, you'll have a more steady, slow rate of energy. So think about no naked carbs. So whenever you're going to have a complex carb, you want to pair it with a healthy fat. And they kind of naturally go well together. There's a lot of like coconut yogurt is really great with berries and fruit, and coconut yogurt is a healthy fat. Or Greek yogurt is another great option. Lots of protein and fat in Greek yogurt. And then carbs, a lot of our snacky foods are in carbs. So like That's It bars and dried fruit and all of this. So same rules applies when you're having those snacky foods. So for example, say you're having a That's It bar for like a school snack, you'd want to pair it with like a quarter of a cup of almonds or sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, some sort of healthy fat that is easy to pack. Wild Way granola is one of our favorites, and that are kind of already naturally pairs, like the dried dates and dried with coconut, which is a natural fat, and then the seeds are a natural fat. And then Birch Bender's frozen waffles, that's another like favorite carb around here. It's a paleo carb, so it's made with almond flour as opposed to traditional flour, but I always slather that for the kids with ghee, which is clarified butter, or almond butter, and it makes like a really great, easy school day breakfast or pre-game snack. So remember, no naked carbs. So apple, almond butter, carrots and hummus, grapes and cheese. And then if you're having pasta or rice, make sure you're adding like a grass-fed butter or a pesto or some sort of healthy fat. Okay, makes sense? So hopefully this is going to start to make sense about creating your balanced plate with veggies, with protein, with fat, with complex carbs. That's going to keep you in a well-balanced state to support your energy of what you need to do at practice and at games. All right, so portion sizes. So a lot of times when we're serving for meals for our kids, we think that they maybe need a portion size similarly to ours, but they actually don't need quite as much as we do. It's really based on their palm. So I want you to kind of, everyone has a size of their palm, and sort of use that as an indicator for when you are plating your meals. So your palm, that's your protein. So if you're having chicken breast or eggs, you want, for me, that's about 3 eggs and about a 4 ounce serving of chicken breast. So that's kind of like my indicator here of how big my palm is. Your child's palm might be larger, it might be smaller. And so that kind of indicates on the protein serving that you need. If you're having a complex carb, make a fist with your palm. So this would be how much rice or sweet potato or pasta or fruit I'm going to be having with my meal. So that's my indicator for like the 25% of my balanced plate. So complex carb, fist. And then open hand green veggie salad. So you want quite a, this is like 2 cups of spinach, 2.5 cups of spinach. So open palm there. And then your healthy fat is about the size of your thumb. So it's like 2 tablespoons. So you don't necessarily need to measure anything. You can just let your palm be your guide. This is super easy when you're on the go, when you're traveling. I feel like it's really fun and engaging for kids. I've taught my kids this method so they can start to balance their own meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with or without me. So you can do this with breakfast. Like take, for example, a scramble. So you would have eggs. So about 3 eggs, then you'd have spinach, and then you might have a little cup of blueberries or a 1/2 cup or a 1/4 cup, indicating on whether the size of your palm is. And then the healthy fat might be olive oil that you cooked your eggs in. And olive oil is a great way to cook your eggs because it's has that healthy fat that's really good for your body. And it's yummy. It's a great way to enjoy eggs also. So let's talk about timing of meals. So before games and practice, you want to prioritize easy to digest protein and fat. So a lot of times, depending on your practice, but a lot of times for us, it's a whey protein smoothie. So it's whey protein and then peanut butter for the healthy fat. And then if it's a morning game, like say it's a Saturday morning game, then we might do like eggs and avocado. So that's a great source of protein, a great source of fat. So it kind of just depends on like the day and the time, if it's after school, if it's a Saturday morning. But just start to prioritize protein and fat. So that's going to keep you satiated, meaning you won't be hungry like an hour into the game. And it's also going to give you natural energy. And then after your game or your practice, you want to prioritize nutrient-dense protein, fat, and a complex carb. And this is more so if it's at night. So like I'm thinking like a weekday practice, like complex carbs really help to optimize muscle growth and promote your sleep. And you really want to focus on good quality sleep, especially after a hard practice. So an example might be sweet potato with butter and steak, or chicken and pesto and cauliflower. Something that is really bioavailable. So like animal protein is super bioavailable for your body to absorb. So that might be, even eggs. Eggs are really super easy to digest and lots of great benefits in egg yolk and for building strong bones, and iron. They're a great source of iron, great source of vitamin A and zinc. And zinc is super important for your immune system and overall health and vitality. And then you want to make sure that you're powering down. So after you have your dinner, after you have practice, then you have your dinner. So you want to limit your screen use on your phone or your iPad and really start to come to that rest and digest phase of your day. I love to supplement with magnesium. So I take magnesium glycinate before bed. And then for the kids, I spray magnesium. It's a spray magnesium for topical relief. And it helps with muscle soreness and fatigue. So magnesium is your friend. You can also have another element before bed. If you're hydrating, add in some extra tools to stay hydrated, or your pink salt. All great things before you power down. All right, moving on. Okay, touched on protein. We've been talking about it. It's just super important. It's your essential building block for growth and development, for your muscle development, for your immune, for your mood, for your hormone health, for your structural needs, for your brain cognition, all good things. Like in utero, if you don't have protein, you won't have an optimal pregnancy. So like that's how important protein is for us as humans. Children need about 1 gram per pound of body weight. So just think about that as you go through your day. So 100 pounds is like 100 grams. Adults need about 75%. So if you're 200 pounds, you need 150 grams. So just take that into consideration and maybe start to think about how much protein you or your child are getting currently, and then start to build from there. So a lot of us are under consuming protein like by a ton. So I don't want you to, if you're currently having 20 grams of protein a day, for example, don't jump to 100 grams. Like you want to slowly build, because you're going to shock your digestive system and have a lot of abdominal discomfort, and you don't want to do that. So I would go up into like 10-gram increments every day and start to build slowly and see how you feel. So if you have 20 grams, maybe see what 30 grams feels like, and then 40, and then 50, and take notes and so on. So a good math note to note, 7 grams of protein is in 1 ounce. So if you're thinking about a 1 ounce serving, that's typically about 7 grams of protein, if you're starting to kind of count that out. So say for lunch, you're packing a 2-ounce turkey sandwich with the turkey wrap or turkey sandwich, and there's 2 ounces of turkey. That's about 14 grams of protein. And that's pretty good for a lunch serving for a kid. And then they might get some, marginal protein in the veggies and the fruit or nuts or things like that you're packing on the side. But the bulk of the protein source is probably going to come from the turkey. And then, for example, say you're having a shake. An after school shake is a great option for kids when they're coming home from school, to, instead of a pantry snack, to make a protein shake. And a lot of times that coincides with that pre-practice meal. And there's usually 22 grams of protein in a whey protein. I have a whey protein that I absolutely love. Super bioavailable, meaning it's easy for your body to absorb. 1 ingredient, so there's no fillers and additives and things that might cause abdominal discomfort. And then, so for example, 4 ounces of salmon is 28 grams of protein. So that's salmon is you get a huge bang for your buck in terms of healthy fat, omegas, and it's a great protein source. So as you're starting to build your day and think about your meals, aim for 15 to 30 grams of protein per meal. If you're having a snack, when you're checking up the back of the nutrition facts, make sure it has 8 to 10 grams of protein, or it's probably not worth eating anyways. And then your animal sources are the most bioavailable. I touched on that, but they contain all essential amino acids. And amino acids are important because they stimulate muscle growth. And that's what we want for strength and vitality for our little athletes. So when you digest protein, you break down the amino acids, and that's what fuels and stimulates your muscle development and growth. So without those amino acids, you will not be optimally developing your muscles. And what happens actually, if you start to overtrain and you don't have enough protein and you don't have enough amino acids, you'll start to lose muscle. It'll deteriorate because your body will start to feed off your own muscle to sustain the energy required for your sport. So protein is hugely important. Amino acids, meaning animal-based protein, is hugely important, bioavailable and super essential. And it's also going to aid in your immune health and your hydration. Like take example for this ribeye graphic. Like look at all these hydrating minerals that are included in a ribeye. So you might not even think about, you might think of ribeye, oh yeah, I'm getting protein, I'm getting iron, but you're also getting, calcium, copper, iron, magnesium, potassium, selenium, which are all, great hydrating minerals. All right, moving on. Okay, so this is a little smoothie slide, a little educational smoothie. I love Kelly LeVeque. She's really a fun smoothie follow. She always has great smoothie recipes. This is the graphic is one of her recipes. The chocolate cherry almond smoothie is one of my recipes. This is my favorite recipe for kids. But I love this graphic because it just really shows how to create a smoothie that's not going to create a blood sugar spike. So this is a well-balanced smoothie, just like we talked about the balanced plate. This is a smoothie that is balanced, so it won't spike your blood sugar. It has an adequate protein, it has veggies, and it has healthy fat. So that's your baseline. So you want to, when you're thinking about your protein, you want to make sure you have a good quality bioavailable protein. You want to have a fiber source. So that could be greens, that could be chia seeds, that could be hemp seeds, that could be almond butter is a good fiber source. Then you want to have spinach. Almond butter is also a good fat source because you all want to have two tablespoons of fat. So that could be avocado, almond butter, and then your fructose or your complex carb would be your blueberry. And then your liquid can be almond milk, coconut water, or plain water also works well. But this chocolate cherry almond smoothie is one that we make in the house a lot, especially pre-game or pre-practice, after school snack, pre-game kind of situation. But the cauliflower, it has frozen cauliflower. That would be your greens, even though they're not typically, they're a cruciferous vegetable. So they count as greens for balancing your smoothie. And it really, you can't taste them at all. So if you or your child is not used to a green smoothie and greens sort of scare them or kind of make them push back, frozen cauliflower is a great game-changing way to incorporate that in your smoothie. Makes it really, especially if it's frozen, it makes it really creamy. It's like undetectable, and you're still getting your vegetables and your fiber. So give this one a try. Frozen organic cherries, cauliflower florets, or cauliflower rice blends really well. You have your chia seeds for fiber. You have almond butter or sun butter or coconut butter or avocado for healthy fat, and then that Himalayan sea salt for hydration. And then you have the whey protein for your protein source. And then you can add nut milk or coconut water. And you blend it all on your high-speed blender. Sometimes I like to blend everything first and add the protein last and then do a second blend. I find that sometimes the consistency is more creamy that way, but you do you. And like, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help to answer questions. If you have any one-off situational questions about pre-game smoothies or pre-game meals. But I love this. I love this recipe. I hope you enjoy it too. Okay, so I want to touch on the importance of greens and digestive health and fiber. A lot of children are running around super constipated, and it's largely part to they're not prioritizing greens. So you want to make sure you're getting in that fiber, broccoli, spinach, kiwi, zucchini, green smoothies. That is what's going to keep you full. So it has the satiety to keep you full, has the high fiber to kind of help the food run through the small intestine and then evacuate out through your stool. Zucchini is a great high fiber vegetable. It's also a complex carb, and it helps kind of the food bind and then exit out through the small intestine, through your stool. But you want to kind of talk to your child and ask them about their digestion habits and make sure they're pooping every day. Like, that's a huge important aspect of health. When you use the restroom, you're digesting toxins, you're digesting hormones. And without pooping every day, you're reabsorbing those toxins, you're reabsorbing those hormones. And so greens are going to be your best friend if you are not evacuating every day. So I want to touch on that. So definitely, that if you're using the balanced plate formula for your meal or your smoothie, you're going to already be optimally incorporating those greens. But I just wanted to make sure you all understood how important that is. Okay, so balanced lunch formula. Very similar to the balanced plate. This is kind of just breaking it down to when you're thinking about packing lunches for yourself or for your child. Think about 2 to 4 ounces of protein. Like we talked about, it's about 7 grams of protein per 1 ounce serving, right? So you're getting a good bulk of protein. It can be eggs, it can be turkey, it can be a chicken breast. So the sky's the limit, could really be anything. But so you want 2 veggies, any veggies. It can be a salad, it could be greens. Then you want 2 to 4 ounces of protein, 2 tablespoons of whole fat. So that could be 2 tablespoons of almonds or pumpkin seeds. It could be an almond butter. It could be half an almond butter sandwich on sourdough. And then you want half a cup of healthy carbs or fruit. So think of things that your kids would like. My kids love berries. So a lot of times I do a half a cup of berries. They also really like edamame, and that would count as a healthy carb. It also counts as a protein too, because there's a ton of protein in edamame. But a lot of times I'll throw in some salted edamame. It's a good carb source. It's a good protein source. So try to understand which fruits and veggies your kids like. Like, for example, for veggies for lunches, my kids love sliced bell peppers. So a lot of times I use sliced bell peppers because they're crunchy and they're easy to pack. But say I was going to saute bell peppers for taco night at home, they would not touch them because they think they're slimy with the oil. So they won't touch a sauteed bell pepper, but they love raw sliced bell pepper. So start to understand little things like that you might feel like, oh, my kid hates bell peppers, but maybe they've never had it raw, or maybe they hate them raw and they love them cooked. Same with Persian cucumbers. My kids love a Persian cucumber. Don't cut it because they want to eat it like a pickle. But if I slice the Persian cucumbers in like the little rounds, they don't really like it. So you just kind of have to start to learn the cadence of what veggies your kids like, how they like them, and why. And if you notice they're not eating something that you're putting in their lunch, ask them, hey, I noticed like you're not eating your blueberries. Why? And Xander will be like, oh, they were so squishy. I only like blueberries like super firm. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So you kind of have to understand like why your kids enjoy something and why they don't. And then they'll help to sort of build your cadence. But this is a good formula just to start to think about how to build a lunchbox. That's going to support them throughout their day so they're not coming home famished and then going to a practice already depleted. All right, so putting this into practice. So this is an example of Zia, and I want to point out that this is like an A plus 100% perfect day. These are all foods that she would eat, so this is not like random. Like this could potentially happen and does happen frequently, but it does not happen every day. If we do something like this, if we put this into practice 3 days out of the 7, I'm like, woohoo, we made it. So don't think that like this is how Zia eats 7 days a week. Like definitely she has pizza, she has pasta, and like misses her protein goals a couple days a week, and it's fine. But the fact that she meets her protein goals 3 days a week is like total, it's like a huge win in my book. But so for example, for breakfast, she might have 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of avocado, and sourdough. That has 13 grams of protein, super satiating. She feels full and focused. And actually, she might even have arugula with that too. She loves the spicy taste of arugula. So that is like an all-star major breakfast. And she loves that breakfast. So a lot of times on Saturdays before she has dance practice, like that's her Saturday morning dance practice. It's also a really easy school day practice. Eggs are easy in the morning, y'all. Like I know sometimes people get like freaked out that they have to get a pan out and make a mess in the morning. I promise you can saute eggs on olive oil on your pan in 5 minutes. It's like less time it takes to like do like a toaster waffle. So once you get in the habit of making eggs in the morning, it doesn't seem as like scary as it might sound at first. It's all about like kind of trying new things. And then lunch, I will pack like a 2-ounce turkey in romaine boats, or maybe I'll do it in a tortilla wrap. She's getting 14 grams of protein at lunch, and then I'll probably add in like a veggie, like a Persian cucumber or bell peppers, and then some blueberries for her complex carbs, or strawberries or peaches. She loves peaches. And then dinner, she loves salmon. So anytime it's salmon night, I know I can get 4 ounces of salmon in her. So she gets like a huge heaping scoop of 28 grams of protein in her salmon. And then we'll usually have it with asparagus, and then I'll make a rice, and I cook the rice in bone broth. So there's some residual protein in the rice there. So she'll get about 32 grams of protein at dinner, which is amazing. So this is like a huge win kind of a day. So start to learn, and with Zia and salmon, start to learn what kind of proteins like Xander doesn't love salmon as much. So he might only have 3 ounces of salmon on salmon night. And that's fine because he loves steak. So on steak night, it's like sometimes he eats 6 ounces of steak. And I'm like, ooh, okay, that's not too much. But, you'll start to learn the cadence of like what protein sources really excite your kids. And then you can kind of vary from there. But Zia weighs, I want to point out, she weighs 53 pounds. So, going with that practice of your child needs about about a gram of protein per pound, so we're striving for like 53 grams of protein per day. So for her, I strive for 45 to 60 grams of protein, because sometimes we don't really make it to the 53 grams. And sometimes we get there, we'll get like 60 grams a day. So that's kind of her varying. And I notice in her mood, in her energy level, if she hasn't met her protein goal, I will notice by the way she looks, by the way she acts, by the way she dances. Like I can see it all in her body. So you'll start to notice how vibrant and vitalized your child feels when they are consuming adequate protein. Same goes for you. If you're not consuming adequate protein, as an adult, you might have major sugar cravings. You might always feel like you need a snack, like you're feeling lightheaded or lethargic. And if you start to think about how much for adults, we need about 75% of our body weight in grams. So maybe start to take a look at like how much protein you are eating and see where you can start to add in and supplement. Whey protein shakes are a great way. If you're like really missing the mark, you can get a 22 gram whey protein shake and really start to make some headway and make some changes. Okay, moving on. So I want to point out that, as you're thinking about how to implement this all in your life, you're going for progress over perfection. So you're not going to get all of this right off the bat. So ditch the all or nothing thinking. Like if I can't do this at all, I'm not going to even try. Like really, everything is hard before it's easy. So this might feel like overwhelming or like you're not able to do it. know that that is a super common tendency to sort of have this, like, you're doubting yourself before you've even tried. So I would love for you to come with this as like with like a playful curiosity and just be curious about how you can implement some of this stuff into your life. And I would start small. So I would start with hydration. So water, start with water, and then start with maybe balancing your plate for one meal a day. So like, don't try to do breakfast, lunch, dinner 7 days a week, A+ time. No, we're not, that's like way too much to change at one time. So I would start with hydration, master that for like a week. And then after hydration, I would start to balance maybe just dinner. Like leave breakfast and lunch with exactly what you're doing currently in your life, and then just start to balance your dinner. So balance your plate, get your portion sizes right, get your protein macros right. So try to get like 25 grams of protein in at dinner, and then build from there. Then start to tackle lunch, then start to tackle breakfast, and then start to tackle snacks. And know that I work one-on-one with clients all the time where we do stair step and stagger this process. I work with children one-on-one. I love working with teens because they're so interested in this, and they can start to, sometimes their mind is totally blown because they haven't prioritized or learned a lot about nutrition. And they're kind of just like, they're ready to absorb and learn and change. Sometimes with adults, we get set in our ways. And so it's a little bit harder to make amendments and changes. But know that these habits are baseline habits that you are building, and they will forever change the way you feel for the rest of your life. So this isn't like a quick fix scenario. This is like a new baseline habit that you can take anywhere. You can balance your plate at any restaurant, on any vacation, really anywhere. It's not like you have to just be home to figure out the balanced plate scenario. So I know that I'm here for you. I can help you put this into practice, and I really just want everyone to feel as good as possible, because we have keeping our blood sugar stabilized. It really changes your mood. It changes how you feel. There's just so much goodness that you can absorb by what you put in your mouth. Okay, moving on. So I also really want to touch on the 80-20 rule. So this is not something that I want, especially children, to become hyper focused on. Like they're like, I have to eat this way all the time. I can never go to a birthday party. I can never have pizza. Like that is healthy eating gone too far. So, healthy eating is you're focusing on nutrition density for most of your meals. Just like I mentioned in that slide with Zia, like that's like our 3-day a week, woohoo, 8+. But like the other days, she's might be having pizza, she might be eating with friends, and we're not like super strict about that. Like I want her to live life, enjoy life, do what feels good in her body. I also want her to feel autonomous, that she can make good choices for herself, and she doesn't feel like I'm hanging over her head all the time, like, just kind of persuading her to eat healthy. So I just want her to be able to enjoy fun foods without shame, without guilt. Healthy eating gone too far is when you're unable to eat anything that's not clean or organic, or you're obsessing over meals. You can't go on vacation. You can't go out to restaurants because you're worried about what you're going to eat there. Like that is when you're taking the fun out of life. And especially for kids, we don't want to create anxiety around this, or rigid food rules or eating disorders. I really like to be cautious there, especially with young girls, because you don't want this to go too far. You want to really touch on how healthy eating will create more strength, more vitalization. It will increase your energy, all things like focus on how it will improve them in their athleticism, in their sport. So I touch with Zia, I'm always like, it'll help you have more have strength as a dancer. You'll have more endurance. You will be able to be sustained in practice without feeling overwhelmed or tired. You'll sleep much better because your body's satiated and well nourished. So touch on all how it will impact their physical health and their muscle development and growth. And I can help you with that too. And then I just also wanted to mention, I work one-on-one with clients. I also work with groups and teams. So if you have a team you want me to work with, I can work with groups and teams. This is just some of the testimonials of people who I've worked with. And most of the time is, my main contribution, I would say, is that I help people create a lifestyle that becomes automatic. So it's a collection of healthy habits that is sustainable, and they are able to maintain that with me at first and then without me. Then they set the ground running, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'll hear from like a couple months later. They'll be like, wow, I can't believe, I didn't used to have a daily practice like this. And that's really my goal. My goal is not for a client to need me long term. I want to teach them how to create a baseline habitual process that works in their lifestyle with their time commitments and that supports them and their goals. So yeah, that's all I have for now. It's really such a pleasure to share this information with you. I hope it helps you and your little athlete in your meal planning for lunch, for breakfast, for dinner. I hope it helps you think about your macros and how much protein and fat and veggies and complex carbs that you need to support you. I am here for you. If you need to put this into practice in your own life and you're having trouble, reach out and I would be happy to work with you one-on-one or work with your team. Or even if you just have any one-off questions, feel free to send me an email. I'd be happy to chat. Hope you have a great day and thank you all for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure. All right, y'all, have a great day.